There are people out there who have power. Who you are, what you are, can change history.
Did I just teleport?
Hi Doug, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
A week ago I was in Madrid interviewing Sylvester Stallone and he was talking about action. Several kinds of action. We have people who make comedy action, several types of action. He says he does hard action. What's your perspective on action?
I think I do smart action.
That's a good one. This film, Jumper, reminds, several titles come to mind, from X-Men to Highlander, probably more obviously. Were you aware of this while doing the movie? Did you try to avoid it? Did you try just do it your way?
Kind of just do my own thing. I mean, if anything, a lot of my process for doing a film is to sort of reject maybe how things were done before. You know, okay, some of this, you know, there's a classic way you do a superhero film, right? Somebody gets a superpower, then there's a villain doing something really bad, and the person with the superpower eventually rises up and tries to stop them, and those two people do battle. I was like, you know what if the person with the superpower also turns out to be the villain? You know, what if you're following the wrong person? What if, you know, I just made a couple of just fundamental changes.
You, according to what I read in production notes, this is not exactly the movie you first intended to make. There were several changes along the way. Even the cast, initially it was another cast. How did these all come together?
You know, well, part of my process of making films is I kind of workshop them, and I'm trying to do something original. I'm trying to make a film maybe better than I would be capable of doing if I didn't have the kind of support that I get around me. And I was like, I workshop just not only the characters, but I workshop the story, I workshop the effects, you know, and I'm always like trying to make it better and trying to make it better. So, you know, one of the things that happened along the way was, you know, this is based on a book where the characters were 18 years old, and one day I was like, well, what if they weren't 18? What if there's a time cut and then you meet them again and they're 25? And what if you did that? And I'm always saying, what if to myself? And if the answer is that would be a better movie, then that's what I do. And so in the case of, I had cast 2 18-year-old actors, and I said to myself, what if this film actually starred people who were older, who were like their mid-20s? Would that be a better movie? The answer is yes, so I recast the film.
And you cast Rachel Bilson, who you knew
from the OC. Yeah.
From the OC. How much has she grown in all these years?
The thing is, you know, about Rachel that's so incredible about her. I mean, your audience, you know, is familiar with the OC. You know, when I put her in the pilot of the OC, she was in a teeny little role. It would be basically a disposable role, just like a teen crush. You know, that, you know, Adam Brody would be interested in for an episode or two, and then we'd get rid of her and bring some other one in. And she took that role and made it into the star of the entire show. Just unexpected how she took over that show. And it's like, the role of Millie in this film is really challenging because she has to be believable as just sort of an average girl from the Midwest of America, but she also has to be able to hold her own against somebody who can teleport, who has money and power and superpowers, and she has to be his equal in that relationship in the love story, and she has to surprise you in that, and so I think that this film is going to catapult Rachel Bilson into probably, you know, I mean, Hayden Christensen's amazing in this film, and I think this film will do for Hayden Christensen what the Bourne films did for Matt Damon. And Jamie Bell, you know, has never been given a chance to do. I mean, he's just a huge star. I'm just the one who's lucky to be able to show people how amazing he is. But Rachel Bilson, for me, is the one who's going to really pop off this movie because, yes, she was amazing on the small screen and she's been in smaller movies, but to be in a movie of this scale and be the only person without a superpower and command the screen the way she commands the screen is a huge tribute to her talent.
There's one more thing I want to discuss with you, which is location. But I think there's a better place to discuss this, and it's the Colosseum in Rome. What do you say if we jump to the Colosseum?
I love the Colosseum. Let's go.
Let's go. Oh, here we are.
Okay?
I'm okay. I'm fine. I don't know how I got this, by the way, but I have it in my hand.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens, you know, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I wanted to discuss location with you, and this is the right place to discuss location because it's a Colosseum in Rome. And this is the first movie in a long time that had permission to shoot here inside the Colosseum. How difficult was that? How did that happen?
They said yes. We asked and they said yes. I mean, that's, you know, one of the basic rules of life is you got to ask. But
it was as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, they said yes. They said yes, but, you know, yes, but we don't want you to shoot a violent action scene here. It's the Colosseum. What do you mean? It's like, the thing was built for violent action, and yeah, that was just one of, you know, they didn't want us to shoot in any way that would disrupt the public, which meant that we ultimately had to shoot for 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes in the afternoon. It was just one restriction after another, but, you know, the moment I set out to make this film and said I want to shoot it all over the world in real places and deal with the real restrictions that come with those places, I was ready for that.
And why film in real locations and not use the easiest way, CGI?
Because then we'd be like all those other superhero films that are, you know, quite frankly, they all look the same, they all feel the same. It's like, you know, this isn't going to feel like any other superhero film you see.
It's going to feel real.
It's going to feel different. It's going to feel different because we really went to these places. We really had to work with these restrictions, and, you know, having Hayden and Jamie and Rachel on my side, you know, was so important because, you know, I needed actors who I could take to these places and work under the crazy constraints that these people had to work under to be here. I mean, this is one of the most important sequences of the whole film. They had to get everything in one take. There was no time for a take two. That's a lot of pressure for actors to be under.
And after this jump, we just made it. How did you create it in the film, the visual for this jump?
It's not all that different than, you know, how we arrived here. For me, you know, I wanted the film to feel as real as possible, which meant not only coming to places like the Colosseum and not having that be a visual effect, but it also meant that, for me, a jump would happen very fast and be very violent. So it basically would be invisible. It would happen, you know, in like 1 or 2 frames. So the jumps are not that complicated, but there'd be remnants and after effects that were very complicated that, you know, we spent probably 6 months researching.
Okay. Doug, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Nice
See
to
you
see you here in Rome.
You guys materialized up here, like it stretched out and it snapped back together up in the air and brought you crashing down to the ground.
It's not as easy as it looks.